I'm told by the owner of this machine that in spite of the noises that the engine made, obviously due to the wear and tear I found down in the bottom end, that it actually been running quite well. So I inquired as to whether he thought I might need to take a look at the valves or guides or anything like that, anything in the top end, and he reckoned it had been running well enough and clean enough. I know that the pistons and bores and rings are all okay. I got the rings in the bores, all that checks out okay. So with that in mind, I've cleaned the gasket faces of the cylinder barrels and the cylinder heads, and I've got a new copper gasket there which I've heated up with the gas torch until it was a reddish colour and plunged it in water to anneal it, which makes it much more flexible and soft than as they come out the pack. So they yield a lot better when you're tightening the head down to the barrels. And I noticed that there's obviously been there's a tiny little bit of evidence of just the slightest blow there, and possibly between the cylinders even. I don't know if the camera picked that up, but nothing to get too concerned about. And hopefully this new gasket, which is coated in well seal on both sides, will take that up, and everything should be good. So I'll get the cylinder head on, and we'll pick up when there's a little bit more of a story to tell. Well, it's coming along nicely now. I've got the head on and all the valve rocker gear fitted and valve clearances done and so on. Head steady on, carburettor, a few other bits and pieces, and I'm just about to put the primary chain case cover on next, and I'll leave it dry when I put it on because I'll probably want to use the strobe to fine tune the ignition timing. But I just thought I'd show this while the primary chain case cover was off. And on this example there are slight sort of variations, and some do actually have level plugs that look like a bolt screwed in from the bottom. But in the case of this one, if you can just see there, first of all the drain is this one. Notice how that's sort of stepped back from clamping a gasket, so that when you take the screw out, oil will come out and it'll drain the primary chain case, and that's at the lowest point. Next one along towards the front, obviously I've got this inverted, but the next one forward, just below the round cover, just to the rear of the round cover and below it, that's your level screw. And you can probably just make out there, when you undo that screw, the gasket is clamped in place so you don't get oil coming past the gasket. You'll only get oil escaping through that hole there, which is drilled at the level intended for the oil to be in the primary chain case. So that's how you do it. It's those two screws. That one to drain, and that one for the oil level. So I just thought that might be worth pointing out and discussing, as perhaps not everybody knows that. But that's how it's done in the case of this type. But as I said, there were and are slight variations on that theme. But best check which version you've got. But if there's nothing else there, no sort of screw-in bolts or anything, you know, hexagon headed ones, chances are it's that one and that one. So I'll get the primary chain case cover on next, and a few other bits and pieces, and I might even be able to look at running the engine later today. I've got oil in the oil tank now, oil in the gearbox as well, but like I said, I'm going to leave this dry just for now. So I'll crack on and get a few more bits and pieces bolted on, and see how it goes. I've got the relief valve, oil pressure relief valve out at the moment, and I'm operating the kickstart to prime the oil pump. I've got clean oil in the oil tank, and I know now that the oil pump is picking it up from there. It's not air locked or anything, it's getting nice clean oil, and when I put that relief valve back in, it'll pump oil straight into the crankshaft and the big end, so I know that everything's alright on that front. So I've only got one exhaust pipe and silencer to fit, and fuel tank, side panels. That's about it then, I think, really, and I'll probably be making an attempt to start it up very soon. I'll refit this oil pressure relief valve now that I know everything's okay there and that we've got oil coming through. It took a fair few kicks to get it to come through. Obviously I got the spark plugs removed to make it easier. I was just operating a kickstart by hand, but there's no doubt at all, there's no denying that the oil supply for the crank is there, so that's nice and reassuring. So I'll refit the relief valve now and carry on fitting the last remaining parts, and then we'll have a look at it when I try and start it up. Well, I think I've reached a point where I'm ready to give this a try and see if it'll start. Hopefully I've got the ignition timing somewhere near where it needs to be. I've got oil in the tank, as we've already discussed, and I know it's reaching the location of the relief valve, so it's getting through the oil pump to and through it, so I'm pretty sure that it'll pump oil to the crank as soon as it starts, if it does. A few little bits and pieces to finish off if it does start, like get the side panels on and check the tyre pressures, things like that, before I go for a ride on it. But it's by and large complete. The primary chain case is still dry, but I've got to do the final strobe checking of the ignition timing again if it runs. But let's find out what happens then. I'll put the camera down here and there we are. Hopefully it'll stay put, and let's see what we get, if anything. I also need to have a bit of a clear up. I've got all sorts of tools scattered about the place, so I'll deal with them shortly. Right. Fuel on, ignition on. It's a warm day, I don't think we'll need a choke. Maybe we will. Someone's just arrived. Right, well, I can tell the ignition timing is very retarded on that, so I'll advance it up a bit and try that again shortly. But we've got a runner and it sounds okay too. It sounds quite good mechanically, but very flat and lame due to the ignition timing, I would say. So I'll have a look at that and we'll come back to it and give it another try shortly. Okay, I've just advanced the timing up a little by moving the back plate around. If that's not enough, I might have to jar the rotor off its taper in the intermediate gear wheel and move that. But let's give it a try now, because I've advanced it up a good, I would say between 5, maybe nudging 10 degrees. That's better. I'll at least be able to get the strobe on it now. See what it's doing. I've got my torch handy. Let's see. Yeah, we got oil returning there. a bit, that'll probably increase shortly. Here we go. Right, still very retarded there, so I'm going to have to advance it up some before I even get into the zone where it's worth trying to strobe it. I also noticed that this fuel tap is dripping, which it hasn't done in the whole time the tank's been up on the shelf over there, but these things happen. Only a minor irritation, but I'll get the timing advanced up some more and try it again in a moment. I've just advanced the timing some more, this time by unseating the little rotor from the taper in there and just moving it round a bit because I ran out of movement for the stator plate. So I'll give it another try now and see what we got. It should be, well, it will be more advanced than it was last time. Let's just have a look and see what happens, shall we? Got it in top gear actually, just a moment. Oil is circulating okay anyway. Well, I'm happy with it, how it sounds mechanically. No smoke. Right, I think the next thing for me to do is get the strobe on it, get the timing set up 100% accurate, and then I can think about putting the side panels on, checking the tyre pressures and so on, and it should be ready to hit the road fairly soon. It sounds all quite promising anyway. I'd say mechanically it's a hell of a lot quieter than it was when it came here, that's for sure, so I'm happy with that. Well, I got the timing strobed in now. You see the gun flashing there. Obviously I can't rev it up as well because I've got the strobe in one hand and the camera in the other, but you might see the line at the retarded position there. That advances up, the line up with a little white line down there if it can be seen. Sounds fairly happy with life to me. Don't seem to be any nasty leaks or smoke or horrible noises. One last thing that I'll do, I'll just verify that the line on the rotor, when it coincides with the little white line that someone's put in the primary case, is actually representative of the piston position up the bore. You know, make sure it's correct, because for all I know it might not be. It sounds to me as if it probably is correctly timed now. Mine is starting and running really nicely. Probably just give it a kick and it'll just go into a tick over. The tick over is a little erratic. I notice it's very sensitive to the mixture screw, but give it a run first, I think. There we are. That started easily enough. So the next thing to do, I'll just verify that that ignition timing mark is correct, and then subject to that being okay, I can put oil in the primary chain case, put the side panels on, check the tyre pressures, and get this off the bike lift, ready to try it out up the road very soon. Well, there it is, all back in full working order, right down to my having checked the tyre pressures. So tomorrow I think we'll get this off the bike lift and see if we can get a few miles on it and see how that works out. The ignition timing is spot on now. The engine sounds good, there's no smoke, no rattles, so it's all ready to come down off the bike lift and go for a test drive tomorrow, hopefully, all being well. So yeah, I'll be looking forward to that.